Living life outside, need to do more than just survive. Gather with people who know on Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure Show. Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure Show. Keep the adventures alive.
Tonight's episode of Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure Show is brought to you by Kid Products, stick stoves and reflector ovens proudly made in Canada. Algonquin Outfitters, with 5 key locations in and around Algonquin Park to serve your backcountry needs. Salis Marine, keeping you safe on the water since 1999. Ostrom Outdoors, custom fit canoe packs and barrel harnesses. Badger Paddles, handcrafted canoe paddles made to order. And Novacraft Canoes, connecting you with nature in Canadian-made canoes since 1970. Hey, happy Tuesday evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure Show, a show that's going to bring you a lot closer to the great outdoors. My name is Dennis, also known as Canoehound, and if this is your first time tuning in, as I always say, thank you very much for gracing us with your presence tonight. Hopefully, you enjoy the entire show enough to stick around for the full 2 hours, and maybe give yourself a chance to win yourself a nice prize package on tonight's swag giveaway. So you'll want to pay attention to the conversation that we have tonight. Let's see here. Before we do get rocking on here with tonight's guests and the topic at hand, just going to have a few announcements while that their chat over there populates, and we're going to make sure we got a good full audience for tonight's show. While I'm saying that, I just have to, I guess, welcome Camp Kitchen on to being a new channel member. Thank you very much for that there. Make sure you shoot me an email at canoehound@gmail.com, and we'll get your prize or your membership package out to you as soon as possible. Thanks very much for the support. Let's see here. A little bit of news. Last week, if you happen to miss last week's show, we had a real barn burner with none other than Jim Baird. He was the guest on the show last week, and we talked about all kinds of things there, everything from tripping, talked about his new podcast, talked about his new beer that he's working on with Muskoka Brewery. And there was even a very, very awesome story he shared right towards the end of the show. I won't give it away. For those of you that watched last week, you probably know the story. If you had to duck out early or if you happen to miss the episode, go back and check out that episode and at least catch the last half hour of the show. I promise you, you'll appreciate it, and you're going to get a little chuckle out of it, and you're going to get to learn a little bit more about good old Jim Baird himself. So by all means, please do check that out. That's available also as a podcast on YouTube Music. So please do check it out. If you happen to be driving, you can listen to it that way as well. It's really cool. Of course, a shout out to our channel members, all of our channel members. I'm just going to get them recognized and floating across the bottom of the screen. These are the people that are great supporters of the channel. Like I said, we got a new one on tonight with Camp Kitchen. Thank you very much. And we do have a couple of milestones to celebrate tonight. We have Kenton Neufeld and Shay Chinambu. Sorry if I pronounced that, if I butchered that last name, but they are both celebrating 6 months as channel members. Thank you very much for your support. I always like recognizing that because you people really help this machine keep on ticking, and that's a good thing. I also have to say thank you to my Buy Me a Coffee supporters. The usual, Steve Bentley and Beauty of the Backcountry always keep me in coffee and sometimes some scotch or whatever it might be, but let's take a dip, everybody. There we go. Got to have my caffeine fix, that's for sure, for the show. if anybody does want to become a channel member for as little as 13 cents a day, or a day, yeah, it's 13 cents a day. You can become a channel member. All you need to do, there's a join button down around here somewhere. Just click on that. You get some details on there of different packages that are available. And like I say, everything that that comes into the show really helps promote the show and helps keep the show going. It's really good that I was able to go to Canoecopia this year, partially helped and funded by of course the generosity, and then of course pays for all the streaming software and stuff like that. And I'm not begging for money, but if anybody finds any value in it, the support is greatly appreciated. Anyways, we do have a couple of birthday announcements to go out there today. A good buddy of mine, Rob Eden, he's an acquaintance that I've made over the last year, I'd say, and has a lot of common interests, and he happens to be part of my networking group, and he is an outdoorsman, and you know what, he's a canoeer and a backpacker and the whole 9 yards. And I just have to say, Rob, happy birthday to you, man. Hope you have a great one. And then also Jennifer Shiwan, she's one of the duo of a couple of campers. For those of you that are familiar with a couple of campers on Instagram, well, Jen is celebrating a birthday, I believe, today. So Jen, if you happen to be watching and you're in the chat, happy birthday to you. Let's throw some birthday cakes in the chat for her, because everybody enjoys birthday cakes, right? Let's see here. If anybody has a special event that might be coming up, by all means, you can drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com. I always say that's the magic email address. If you have anything that you'd like to share with me, any information, any requests of future guests and things of that sort. I mentioned that this season is getting very close to drawing down for an end, probably sometime in mid-May. We've only got a couple of episodes left for this season, as regularly scheduled. We got a few changes coming down the pipe there that I will let you know about within the coming weeks. But we are going to be doing probably some shows, some Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure show throughout the summer, maybe one here, one there, as topics or guests arise. Because I don't want to miss an awful lot in the summer, but then again, we're also out there playing and being safe and enjoying the backcountry. So you can look forward to a little bit of that coming up. But like I say, more information on that coming down. So if anybody has anything for me, it's right here at canoehound@gmail.com. That's the magic email address. And tonight we will be having a swag giveaway. So you'll want to stick around till at least the 8 o'clock break, so that you can be part of the swag giveaway. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes here, once our guests are up on screen. But yeah, that's going to be that for that. Anyways, we've mentioned a lot of that stuff. Let's get into tonight's topic, because these are a couple of fellas that I've been wanting to get on the show here for probably a couple of years. And it's finally happened, and at great timing too. So there's a lot that we're going to be sharing tonight. First thing I need to ask is, how many of you use a saw when you're in the backcountry? Throw a one in the chat. Obviously, it's probably going to be a lot of ones, because it's an essential part of our gear and what we carry with us into the backcountry. So tonight we're joined by two of the owners of one of the most successful backcountry saw brands out there. Their saws are used by outdoorsy people all around the world, and I do mean all around the world. And all you need to do is watch videos of outdoorsy people in the backcountry from around the world, and you're going to see their saws in use. Let's see here. Please welcome to the show, from Agawa Gear and the makers of the Boreal 21, 15, and 24. We got Graham Beck and Brad Rothwell. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Dennis.
Hey, Dennis.
How's it going?
Good. Long overdue. Is this show, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah. Well, it's just a matter of getting all the ducks in a row, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be shy.
Yeah. We're happy to be doing this.
Good stuff. First, I'm going to start, and I start this way with all of our guests on the show, is obviously asking a little bit about both of you, so people get a better understanding. You guys are a smaller, I wouldn't say a small operation, but you guys, are personable owners that are out there with your product. And you can see that at any show. So, Brad, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my background's in industrial design. So I went through actually the same course as Graham at Humber College. and always been a camper growing up. I did a stint tree planting to sort of pay for some of that college that I went through to get my background. So always been a fan of the backcountry early on. And then I did a stint in the Toronto film industry, doing production design, working in a lot of commercials. I did a lot of kids commercials, believe it or not, like toy commercials. And through that, I shared a shop with Graham for years, and then slowly kind of teamed up with him on this Agawa venture. And this has been my way to kind of dip back into the product design world and kind of make something of it, and help with this cool company that we're helping run.
Yeah, cool. Cool is an understatement. I have to say that because I absolutely love your saw. So I have many other saws too, but this one here is my main workhorse. So Graham, tell us a little bit about yourself too.
So I grew up in Ottawa and then came to Toronto for industrial design at Humber. And then I got married coming out of school, and my wife was from Toronto, so ended up in this area. And we did a little bit of camping growing up, but mostly we had kind of an off-grid cottage that was like very basic, outhouse, no running water, cooked over the fire every night. And so that was most of my experience in the outdoors. And then it wasn't until college that I started doing more backcountry trips and yeah, after graduating, I worked in retail design, doing exhibits and point of purchase displays, and then did some freelancing on the side, and eventually started designing the saw with Hank and Luke, who are also co-owners in the company, and it was just a perfect way to blend the love of the outdoors and the product design that we were into already.
So how was it that you guys eventually, like, you became friends? Like, how long have you known each other? Is it a long time, or?
That would have probably been, oh man, it's been a while. We actually didn't know each other when we went to Humber. Graham was a year ahead of me in our class. But we met in a job a year after I was done. And so that would have been what, 2010 or 2011? Yeah, so quite a while. And we just kind of met in this job where we were designing, what do you call it, point of purchase units, like for Shoppers Drug Marts. We were sitting in cubicles beside each other and kind of would chat and get along over some pretty boring work we were working on. So we kind of developed our friendship through that, and going out for lunches and, cracking jokes at work, really.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then that takes you to being business partners. But before we get into the whole business partner thing, like how this line of saws, the Boreal 21, it was basically one of your first products, right? This is how long I've had it. I still got the old logo on mine.
Yeah, that's one of the
so like how did this saw become part of an endeavor for you two?
So I was part of a church with Luke, one of the original co-founders, and we had worked on a project together where they wanted to put brackets or figure out a way to move the pews around the sanctuary to be able to use for all sorts of different events and things like that, and then put them back. And so I came up with a bracket that went on that would make them slide around really easily. And a couple of years down the road, Luke had sold a company, and Hank, another co-founder, was semi-retired at that point. And these two have been doing canoe trips since high school with a group of buddies. And so Luke came to me and said, "Hey, here's the stuff that's on the market. Do you think you can improve on it?" And so that's how it all started. Yeah, saws
Okay,
that were on the market. And the backstory is that they had found an old saw on a campsite, and it worked beautifully for them. It was really robust, packed up pretty nice. They used it for years and years.
Did they ever figure out the name of it?
No, never been able to figure it out. And then they lost it on a campsite. And so then they went through years of trying different saws, and they're either complicated to set up or flimsy, or just didn't measure up to that saw that they had been using for years. And so it was always in the back of their minds, what can we improve on this? And so that's how we came together to start designing a new saw. And so we were testing everything that was out there. We were looking at stuff that had been used in the past. But that's how it began.
Right. It's funny because I remember back my early days of canoeing and stuff like that. Of course, like I said at the intro, saws are an integral part of a backcountry adventure. It's if you're going to be processing wood, right? But even if you're not going to be processing wood, if you need to clear a portage or a hiking trail or something along that lines, very integral. It's like your Swiss Army. You have to have a Swiss Army knife or some sort of knife to bring back there with you as well.
Yeah.
My early days were those old orange bow saws, the ones there, and they never had a good protector for the blade or anything like that. So you're always trying to make something out of duct tape, cardboard, trying to cover the blade so you weren't ripping apart your pack, ripping apart your skin, and they were reliable, but they were just so cumbersome. A 21-inch saw or a 24-inch saw, just so cumbersome. But now with the invent of this type of thing, you kind of brought the saws into the 21st century type of thing, right? Because they're so compact and so easy to set up. So what type of saw was it that you were kind of basing yourself off of or trying to improve on?
I guess the parameters originally were like there's some good saws on the market. Sven, everybody knows. Bob Dustrud.
Yeah, Sven's the OG. Has been around since like the 50s, right, or something.
Yeah,
60s.
Yeah. They go way.
A little louder, Brad.
And then Bob Dustrud saw was a really good one. But basically, we had our parameters where we wanted all of the pieces to be connected.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want to have any assembly, no hooks. No attaching the blade anywhere. We didn't want to have to touch the blade, and then have the blade pack into the frame so that it doesn't damage gear.
Yeah, I got hung up when you're taking it in on your bag, right?
Yeah, had to be rigid, pretty lightweight. So we had some pretty basic parameters, and at first we thought it would be a more rigid version of a triangular kind of shape.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we went through different iterations, I kind of figured out, okay, I think we can actually connect everything in a three-sided frame and then plus the blade. And so through a lot of iterations there, we finally figured out and how to keep the blade kind of aligned while it locks up, which was tricky. It looks simple in production, but it's tricky to figure out.
Sure.
But yeah, those were the basic parameters. It was rigid, lightweight, all the pieces are connected, and then when it worked out as a three-sided frame where you get that extra clearance, we knew we had something there.
Mm-hmm. 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 So do you guys have like a Agawa Gear museum to show your prototypes as you were working along? Like, you must have kept those things, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have like a bit of we have an office at the shop here that we have all of just prototypes and 3D prints and old kind of saw parts that we display. So if you ever come by the shop, you can take a look at that stuff. It's not a ton, but we definitely have it on display because it's pretty cool to look at from what it came from the initial idea to what it is now.
Sure. So do you mind, I'm not asking for trade secrets, but can you walk us through the process of designing this saw? Because you know what, like there's a lot to look at it, just to look at the saw itself, right? It looks pretty simple in design, and you said there's a lot that goes into it, but like the locking mechanism of how it gives it tension and stuff like that. What was your process? There's a lot of doodle art on napkins, or Brad, you said you have design background and stuff like that, right? So
Yeah.
There is a lot of doodle art on napkins.
yeah,
At the beginning, when you're just trying to think about it and get really simple stuff out on paper.
Most of our day is just doodling.
Yeah.
Sometimes on a whiteboard, but sometimes it's definitely on a napkin.
yeah.
Throw an idea together, right? But,
Yeah, and then we go into 3D software, where we start putting together how we think it might function, how it would look, and part of that is that you can put components together and actually move them. Like you can pick a point where it's going to swivel or rotate around, and once you start doing that, that's where you see what's going to work and what isn't.
Yeah.
And then from there, you start going to prototyping. We're 3D printing, going to metal fabricators, getting them to bend up parts, and then iteration after iteration, tiny changes, getting the tension right, getting the length right, and yeah, it's just trial and error, really.
What was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome when you were designing this?
At first, like once we arrived on the 3-sided frame and how it would fold together, originally there were pins at the side where the pivot arm connects right here. Right here, there were pins that came out of the aluminum frame. And so one of the issues we ran into was making sure those pins would hold up over time. And then another one was just getting the tension right. We wanted the frame to fold up to the same length as the blade, and in order to do that, the angles have to be perfect. If you're off by a couple degrees here and there, you lose tension. It doesn't put enough pressure on the top bar, and it won't last. It won't last.
Did you pay attention in geometry class to know that, or what?
Yeah.
well, it's a bit of that and trial and error.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like every face where the saw comes together, all the pieces, they actually have angles machined into them, so that they're interacting on an exact angle. So it's not just like two offcuts kind of coming together.
Right.
It's actually a very predetermined offset.
That's cool. Now, I just looking at it, I would think that like one of the tough parts of the design would be this actual the locking mechanism when you lock the end in to the thing. Which one of you woke up in the middle of the night and said, "I got it"?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's funny. We were really close to going to production with the version with the pins. Where the pivot would grab onto 2 pins. We were in a meeting ready to go, and then it hit me about how to use a handle that kind of hooks onto the bottom of a pivot arm that kind of hooks onto the bottom of the handle. And so you just look at something enough, you're dealing with it all the time. You're going through so many different prototypes, and then eventually something clicks. It's like a memory that comes back to you at a certain point.
Yeah.
So,
whenever you're designing something, it's always, you kind of get tunnel vision of the idea and like how you're working on it.
Yeah.
So for us, we know it's always important to like at some point take a step back and be like, okay, do we have the blinders on too much here? And is there a different way to think about this, a way to solve this? So that's something we've learned over the years. It's like, okay, let's take a step back and see if we're missing anything here. And often at that point, things that are not obvious become obvious. So.
Yeah, and then that's the benefit of having the team start it too. Is somebody has a comment or an idea about one thing, so you go that direction, and then that inspires another idea from somebody else, and it just grows from there.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing, the whole research and development thing. Like even if especially that, like there's a few of you working on it. my buddies here at Kid Products, they went through all these growing pains too, and they were developing their twig stove, right? And it was it started out as like something that they just wanted to do for themselves, right? And they wanted to build to them a better fire or wood stove or twig stove. And before you knew it, things just kept progressing, and to get them to where they are now, they're a bona fide business, right? And they're selling their product. So how long was the whole process of designing what you were designing for the saws between that point and the time that you founded the company?
Ooh. About 3 years, right?
For designing.
And design.
Ooh, that's hard to remember, actually. I think it was probably from when we first met to when we launched Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was early 2012 when we started the research and then design process. And then in 2013 was when we officially launched the business and put the campaign on Kickstarter.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So 2013. So you guys got like 11 years under your belt already.
Yeah. Crazy to think that.
Over that time, has anything really changed with the design on this from the time that you actually launched the product, or has it been pretty much untouched?
Small changes,
small tweaks
to angles, some of the molding process, labeling, but not too much really.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
because you don't want to keep trying to reinvent the wheel when the thing is already working and it's sort of a success, right?
We do have a new pivot handle that's going to be coming out soon.
Yeah, we added the spacer.
Right,
kind of a big one.
That's true. That was a request we got a lot. We added a small spacer at the at kind of the short end of the frame where the blade connects.
Okay.
And plastic piece there.
Yeah. So that just helped when you're flipping it around. That helped guide the blade. Do you have one there?
I don't know. It's
I wonder if your old one has a spacer. We'll have to get you one.
No,
you
it's
don't
not
have
there. Well, we got to get you one of those.
We got to get you 2.0.
Oh, okay.
So that just helps guide the blade into the channel and then takes down the rattle when it's packed up.
Okay, yeah, okay. That's the one thing. Sometimes I just got to give it a little tweak. Can you give a demonstration for those that might not be familiar with your saw, how they actually work, how they open, close, and fold up? I'll put you guys full screen on this too.
I'll do the small one just because it's a little bit.
That's the 15, right?
It is the 15, yeah. So basically, that's the tension releasing, and then everything folds around. I'll try and keep it in frame here, and then. So packs down to the same size as the blade.
Genius.
And then fold it out. Same thing, just in reverse. And one cool thing about the design too is you actually never have to put your hand on the blade. So if you're camping with kids, like me and Graham both have young kids, so it's nice to have a tool that you can show them how to use it safely, right?
Yeah.
You never have to touch that blade, and it's kind of packed away when you're not using it.
And very, very simple. Like I say, what I like about it is that exact fact that you don't have to fumble around with that blade, and you don't have to worry about protectors like the old bow saws and stuff like that, because nobody ever come up with a good sleeve to put on them blades. And I was always getting nicked, or it'd be taking bites out of my backpack, or the dog would jump in the canoe, and you know what I mean. It was a danger, because those things those blades are sharp as heck, right?
Oh, yeah. We've had a lot of accidents at trade shows.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's cool. You guys got a pretty cool display that you could actually try your saws out, like right there too. You set up a piece.
Well, that's key. And like going back to your comment on like the old fixed frame bow saws, they're great because they hold that nice tension on the blade, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the big things with our saw that. Compared to other pack saws is we actually have comparable tension to like a full-size fixed frame bow saw, even though it holds together. So when it does lock into that position, it has that similar tension, which makes it feel like a fixed frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, but funny story about the testing at trade shows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So our first year, right after we launched Kickstarter, the first trade show we ever did was Canoehounds.
Oh,
It's a
really?
great show. If no one's
Yeah.
into that show, it's an amazing show.
Yeah.
It's really fun to go to.
Yeah.
And
Dennis, was this your first year down to it?
No, it was second year. Second
Yeah,
time
okay,
I've been
that's
down.
okay.
Yeah. The first year I went to Canoecopia, you guys had trouble with getting your display down. It kind of got lost in transit somewhere, right?
yeah, there's
been many
different stories there.
Every
too.
year there's something that happens.
Yeah, I think it was you, Brad.
Yeah.
After the show, they had the social hour. And
Yeah.
you're in a panic looking for for money to go get yourself a $10
driving,
worth of beer,
driving
right?
to Milwaukee.
Yeah, don't run back to your room, right? So
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
So that first year, we thought it would be good to do a giveaway every day, and so we did a timed contest for how quickly you could saw through the logs that we brought there.
Okay.
And I mean, a lot of people had tons of experience, and it was really impressive how quickly they could get through it. And then there's others who hadn't done as much sawing, and it got pretty sketchy at times.
It got a little dangerous. Yeah.
Right.
Plus, we just had the logs like strapped to a plastic Home Depot table. That wasn't very stable. Now we use this.
Yeah, we just had clamps on a plastic table. Yeah.
So the whole table's shaking around. Me and Graham are sitting on the edge of the table, so the wood doesn't go flying. But it was good. It actually attracted a lot of people to our booth because of the mayhem and the wood chips flying everywhere.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? Action attracts people, right? So
That's it. Exactly. So yeah, it morphed to just testing after that.
Yeah.
Sure.
We felt a little liable after that one.
Okay. So to further progress into the saws, you started with the 21, and you've now expanded to the 15 and now the 24 as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
Why the need to expand? Was it people are asking for something smaller and larger, or?
Yeah, I think that's where it starts. Like we're pretty in tune with sort of our customers and our clientele. Like they reach out to us on social media. We watch a lot of the YouTube videos. I like to stay in part of the world as much as possible as an enthusiast myself. And just even through our own website, we got a lot of questions about smaller saws, bigger saws. The 24 I call our winter camping saw, and the 15 is basically like our small backpacking hiking saw. So it's definitely they're not as popular as the 21 because the 21, like you said, is sort of the best of both worlds. It's sort of our perfect size for almost any trip. But you get guys we get a lot of guys who do mountain bike, like cross country trips or motorcycle trips, and they love the 15 because they can fit it into a lot of their pannier bags and strap it right to their bike, and it's barely nothing. And then the 24 is my personal favorite saw because typically on a trip I'm not too worried about pack size or weight, and I just want to be able to get through wood as fast as I can and have a nice big fire. And the 24 is an absolute beast for that. So.
Yeah, I could see what you said there. More of a winter saw, right? Because bucking that wood, that longer stroke can actually get through the wood a lot quicker. So
yeah, the more blade you have, the more efficient it's going to cut, and the easier you're going to get through. And that's with any saw. So
yeah, plus a couple extra inches of clearance too on the 24.
Yeah. Cool. Out of curiosity, do you guys have blades handy that we could do a little show and tell? We could talk about blades in a few minutes. That'd be really cool. You do offer a few different blades, and I know there are different blades available out there. It'd be really cool to know.
We got the standard blade. We got the Rancher blade.
Yeah, we've got them all right here.
Cool. Well, why wait? Show the blades. Tell us what they are, because I know some are like wet wood, some are good for raking better. All right.
Sure. So this is, let's see. So that's the standard blade, the all-purpose blade we call it. It's probably the thing you'd see most commonly. And so these 4 teeth are sharpened, and then this one here is called the raker, and that one's just for clearing out sawdust, just to clear the path so that your blade doesn't bind up.
Okay.
And so that one's really good for green wood, stuff that's sappy or wet. And so, but good all around. And then this one we have custom made. It's actually a Mennonite business that makes this one. And it's a little bit thicker gauge, and every tooth is sharpened. And then it's a little bit coarser pattern, a little bit deeper teeth, and a little wider apart. So the saw feels a little bit rigid, more rigid overall when you're using this one. And it's just very efficient because you get 20% or 20% more cutting teeth per push and pull, right? So
it's got a pretty heavy curve.
Yeah, and a pretty heavy curve. So it takes out quite a bit of wood at a time, or every stroke. But we really like this one.
Cool.
Yeah, and then we also offer a hunting style blade. So that's for boning out meat in the bush or cutting fish. Frozen fish it works great on if you're into hunting and that kind of thing in the backcountry. So it's just a lot of different options there.
So the neat thing about these saws is that you can. Well, I've also got a case, one of your older style cases, and it's got a little pouch in the back for blades and stuff like that, right? So you can actually bring a couple different blades if you're a hunter and you need both a bone saw. We'll call it a bone saw for lack of a different term, and the original blade. At least you could change it out in the field, right? Is it really easy to change the blades on these things?
Yeah, it's basically a very simple system. It's so we didn't want to have you to use any tools, especially if you're in the bush or in a survival situation even. So it's just two C-clips that hold in these pins.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you pop these C-clips out. They pop off the pin. The pin drops down, and then the blade releases. So you do that here, and then there's another one on the pivot over here. Same spot.
Okay. Yep.
So you clear those pins, you change the blade, and then replace the pins in the C-clips. So you can literally do that, with a stick if you needed to.
Sure. I got a little hack that I've done with mine because I've never had to change a blade in the field. I have changed a blade. I got just like a standard blade. I haven't got the original one with the rakers on it. But I actually, a little tip for anybody that's got an Agawa saw, if you're ever wondering what to do with your clips, I just use clear duct tape and I just taped it right to the handle and they've not gone anywhere, right? So it's a great place to keep them if, they're not going to get
that is the one part that could go missing if you do change blades in the field. You got to be careful of those clips, but we do. We always send out spares with all of our blades and all of our saws just in case. So you can have a backup set with you when you're in the backcountry.
Yeah, and then the new sheaths also have this pocket on the flat.
Okay.
So you can put the clips in there.
Little secret pocket.
Yeah. But if you don't have the sheath, then tape it to the frame. That's
perfect. A great idea. I haven't seen that before.
I haven't got it. That's how long I've had mine. Actually, even the sheath has your old logo on it, the Agawa Canyon. So.
Yeah, that's an original.
Yeah. The one gentleman there, the one young fellow that works for you guys at most of the shows, he was telling me about that pouch with the little he called it a little kangaroo pouch on it. So yeah. Let's see here. I got a quick question here from Beauty in the Backcountry. Beauty in the Backcountry says, do you do any of the manufacturing in-house or do you outsource the manufacturing and stick to design, branding, and distribution?
So we basically do, the only thing we do in-house for the saws is assembly. So we get all the parts in from our manufacturing partners, and then we do final assembly, quality check. And the thing we touch the most is the blades because we have to dip the blades from our Mennonite partners. So we put a protective coating on them so they don't rust. So they're obviously used for a long time. So yeah, the manufacturing process is mostly run through our manufacturing partners, and that's kind of all over the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it's in Canada at this point. So.
Cool. Yeah, well, some of them are all made overseas, right? And we like to try and support local if we can, right? That's always a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're definitely sort of moving in that direction, somewhere we want to go. And what would you say the percentage is now of how much is done here?
Yeah, I'd say we're probably approaching 30% of the frames are completely done in Canada now.
Yeah.
All of the new handles and
Yeah,
pivots,
all the plastics are done
all
here.
the plastics moved to Canada.
Yeah. Our blades, the standard blade, this guy here, we sourced that one from Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
And the bone blade as well.
Yeah.
And then the aggressive blade is Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Which blade comes standard with your saw?
That's the all-purpose blade.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then with the 24-inch saw, the aggressive blade comes standard. Yeah.
Okay. Now this is really a stupid question, or maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But how can you tell when it's time for a blade change? Is there something? Is it going to get loose? 'Cause I've heard blades can stretch a bit, lose tension, they get a little, wonky and stuff like that. And that's with all saw blades, right? Even going back to my old bow saws when I was younger, right? So,
yeah, we always say if your saw starts feeling loose, it's probably time to change your blade. Now that depends on how long it's been used for. The blades we source are really good quality, so they do hold an edge for a long time. Like we've heard people using it up to like 3 years of trips and not noticing any, degradation in the edge. So it's kind of a tricky thing. Looseness can be a sign. And then obviously if you just feel like you're not getting through wood as fast, it's not biting as much. That can be a sign too. But they're likely to last for quite a long time compared to, other blades out there.
But all that fine Swedish steel, right? That's
yeah.
That's it. And on the aggressive blade, you can take a file and sharpen it because it's a little thicker gauge and it isn't impulse hardened on the tips.
Yeah, so there's some room there to actually get in with a file, like even like a chainsaw file would probably do it.
something I never thought of is sharpening them, right? That's that's
I wouldn't really attempt it on this one just because it's such a small edge that you're dealing with. And like Graham said, the tips they're blue because they've been impulse hardened.
Yeah.
The tips of that blade are really, really hard, and you'd have a tough time kind of trying to file an edge on there and sharpen it. So
cool. So what about maintenance on these saws? What should be, for those of us that own them, what should we be doing to maintain them besides, changing the blade occasionally if need be?
I'd say like your frame's never going to rust because it's aluminum. All the hardware other than the blade is stainless steel. So you're pretty good there. I mean, it's always a good idea to, clean your tools, keep them dry. The blades are carbon steel, so they can rust if they're left in the wet for a bit. So what I do with mine personally is I throw a little bit of, cooking oil on it at the end of a trip before I put it away for a few months or whatever. And that tends to keep your blade from rusting, even if it's, a little bit damp.
Yeah, last thing you want is
basic stuff, right? We wanted it to be very easy to take care of.
Cool. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the saw. You guys have right behind Graham's head there 2 samples of another product that you have developed recently and have launched. And I notice a lot of YouTubers out there are using these and testing them out and stuff like that. Tell us all about the ADK26, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, so we took on a tough one for our second product.
Yeah.
We kind of had a list of ideas of what we might take on next, but we landed on a 2-piece hatchet and axe. And part of that is because when we're on trips, we generally like to take an axe with us. And then, but often we were weight limited. And so we want to pick one, but there's multiple ways we want to use it. Sometimes you want to use it for finer work around the campfire
stuff.
Yeah. And then other times you're trees down, you're limbing, or you need to fell or do some heavier work, splitting perhaps. And so we wanted to design something that could do both. And so that's where we came up with the
general idea of it is you have the best of both worlds in one. one piece, right? So this is basically it here. I can show you guys how it breaks down. So that's obviously extended. So the gold standard we used for this design was the Grand Sportsbrook 26-inch forest axe.
Well, there's a first for Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure Show. Turn off that.
Sorry, we are in the shop, so that was our compressor going off. We got a leaky compressor here in the shop. Yeah, so the gold standard for this was the Grand Sportsbrook 26-inch forest axe, very popular axe in the world, bushcraft, you name it. So we wanted to hit the weight, the feel, the quality of that tool, but obviously have the breakdown capability so you can throw this thing in a barrel. When you're backcountry canoeing, you can use it as a hatchet when you want to do campfire side work and smaller things. Because really, when it comes to an axe, a lot of people, talk about axe safety, and with an axe, you don't want to do full length axe work with a hatchet, and you don't want to do hatchet work with a full length axe, because that's when you can get into some situations where you're not using it properly and potentially have an accident. So an accident. Yeah.
So many say an axe is probably the most unsafe tool to have in the backcountry unless you know how to use an axe properly, right? And
Absolutely.
I know with it being a two-piece system, I've heard from many people that there's always a concern that being a two-piece axe, like they automatically think that joint or that junction between the two parts of the blade is going to be a problem. What have you done to alleviate or to guarantee that these axes are safe? Because last thing you want to do is put out a product with your name on it that has a catastrophic failure, right? Obviously,
Absolutely.
you wouldn't put the product out until you've obviously done some testing. What have you done to safeguard that?
Yeah, so we put these through. It was probably a year-long test regimen. Here at the shop, we sent them out to some sort of professional users, I guess we'll call them. Guys like Jim Baird and Joe Robinette, and people who are in the bush daily and really know what they're doing with these tools. And then we also put it through some standards testing, so a USA standard testing. Oh man, I'm blanking on the name of it. ITMSE or something. It's basically the CAA version of the US. So they have a regimen of tests that they put through any edge tool, or like a hammer or a sledgehammer or any sort of hammer that goes to market, or axe tool has to pass this test to make sure it's certifiable to sell at a store. So we ran it through that testing, and everything went really well. And we tested it with this joint in mind, right? So basically, it passed the same test that a fixed handled tool would have to pass, but it has this joint in it that we've designed. Mm-hmm. Part of the reason why that works is if you hold that one up. So it's kind of a post and hole design. So you can see how much that overlaps.
Yep.
And when the two pieces come together, they friction fit. So our biggest design challenge was making these two pieces sort of act as one when they're connected. So it does that. So when this bends or it's under force, both the pieces are moving together like it's sort of a fixed handle. Or it's one piece. And that's what allows us to put a ton of force on this. Obviously, an axe, splitting wood is going to come up against a ton of forces. And when we do put this thing through destruction testing, or we try to break it, it breaks just the same as a wooden axe would. So it actually breaks up near the head when you overstrike it like crazy, or hit it with a great amount of force.
A lot more force.
It takes a lot more to break this than a traditional hickory handled axe.
I would think it would too, because what type of material is that? It's not just a standardized plastic, obviously. For you want
No,
something
no.
that's
It's so this is the base material is a nylon,
yeah,
a nylon 6, and then this actually has a long fiber in it, so a long glass fiber, and that's what gives it its impact strength. It's impact modified for this specific application of being an axe.
Yep.
So it's a very robust material, similar to that of like you guys have seen probably Fiskars and stuff like that out there.
right.
It's a bit different composition. It actually has a higher impact strength than a Fiskars axe. So more than enough to kind of live up to what it's built to do. And we've always said too, it's like this isn't, we didn't design this to be a splitting maul. This is a purpose-built tool. So it really is. It's like you should treat this as like a Swedish backcountry, forest axe.
Right.
No, you're not going to be splitting cords of wood with it, but you're going to be, doing reasonable stuff in the backcountry, and really it's a tool to be super versatile when you need it.
So it's more of a chopper, and then it's also in its hatchet form. It's more of a like a splitting rounds.
Yeah,
right?
like it splits really well. It's a small head, right? So it's a 1.5 pound head.
Yeah.
Because obviously we were really careful around weight as a hatchet. Because if you get too heavy on the head as a hatchet, it's going to feel very heavy, in the hand. So we found 1.5 pounds is about as heavy as you want to go in hatchet mode, and then it's about as little as you could go to have it feel balanced as a 26-inch axe. If that makes sense. Yeah. So you can see we've actually a couple things we added in was we added this nice wedge in here. So when you are splitting, it does pop wood open really nice. So it's quite a lot better splitter in our opinion than the Swedish axes. That's one thing they were missing as users of those axes. They'd often get buried in the wood and kind of get stuck, and we find this design helps pop the wood and then release. That's another reason why we put these cheeks into help it release from material as you're using it.
Oh, okay. That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that catches my eye too is the way it's mounted to the handle is a lot different than your contemporary axe. Most axes, obviously, they go through. It goes through, and you have to use a wedge and to support the head to the handle. Right. This here is a little bit different.
Yeah. So this is the way we attach this. It's called overmolding. So this head actually gets put into an injection molding machine, and then the plastic gets injected through and over the head. So it's a very strong mechanical connection. And in our testing, it was about 10,000 pounds.
Oh yeah.
It was so basically in one of our tests, a machine grabs the bottom of the axe and then tries to pull the axe head out of the actual connection here, and it took like 10,000 pounds to actually remove the head from the handle.
Right.
It's a very, very strong connection.
Yeah, and to compare that to a wooden axe, if you fix the axe head and start pulling outwards or upwards on the handle in a traditional style of fixing the head, it actually just pulls right out around 300 to 400 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah,
you're not going to get that with this.
Yeah.
Now that's got a hard pull on it too, right?
Yeah, and that was kind of one of our standards. So we had to, before we even started thinking about making a product like this, we had to kind of come up with a standard to sort of say, okay, here's what is acceptable right now in the outdoor world. Here's what people have been using for hundreds of years, this especially the Swedish style of axe. So let's get the stats on what it takes to break one of these, right? And really have that as our sort of like our starting point of, okay, we have to be at least this good. And of course we want to be better. So that's kind of one of the ways we look at designing tools for the backcountry. It's if we can't be as good as what's out there that really works, it's probably not worth doing it, right?
Sure.
So that was our starting point, was like, okay, how much does it take to break one of these traditional axes that people use all the time?
Mm-hmm. So can you show us the connection point? Now you've got a very unique way of connecting the what do you call it? I guess the two handle ends, right? The two parts of the handle. how's that connection made? And
Yeah.
tell
So
us about.
so the axe handle extension. Oh, am I out? Yeah.
There you go.
It just slides in like that
Mm-hmm.
until the two parts are seated together, and then those clips, they're spring loaded to want to go inward towards the axe handle, and then they just hook around kind of a notch on the hatchet handle.
Yeah, so they're
Right.
like wanting to grab that way.
Yeah.
So like hug that upper handle.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
what's the stop them from coming apart?
Where it latches over here,
Yep.
it actually it kind of flexes to go over that nub there.
If you can
Yep.
see on the bare part, there's actually a little
There's a
nub
little
right
lip
there.
there, right? Yeah.
The spring steel has to jump over that. So when you hear that click, it actually locks into that position. And it wants to stay there because the clips are actually, the way they're designed, they're wanting to pull in.
Kind of like a carabiner clip.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And they're on there so snug that you have a little tool that comes with the axe too, right? That for
Yeah,
popping
because we obviously don't want that thing to come off by chance when you're using it, or you come in contact with a stick or something.
Oh, it's right on the bag too, even.
Yeah, it's attached to the sheath.
Yeah, so you don't lose it.
Yeah, so you just flip that out of the sheath. Let's see, how can I show it?
There you go. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like that, and then you use it to pop the clips out of place. You can't do it with your hands.
Like cracking a bottle of beer. You guys are genius.
Yeah, exactly. We had to try very hard not to make that piece, the clip piece, not look like a bottle cap opener.
Well, you should have
we
worked a
knew
bottle
people
cap
would be
opener into it, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That is value.
Oh, you just wanted to make a bottle cap opener, didn't you?
Cool.
And I saw a question there about the clips, that if
Yep.
one of them got damaged, if it would hold together with the one side.
We did test that actually.
We did.
Yeah, that was one of our tests. So we did a test where basically a machine would hold this part of the axe, and then another machine would hold it here, and trying to separate these two parts. And they tested it with one clip disengaged on one side and one clip on the other side, and it still holds almost the same amount of weight, even with just one clip engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Norma Lynn's asking, does the axe come with a sheath, or is that a separate purchase?
Yeah.
Everything comes as a full kit. Actually, we can show you guys what that looks like because it's pretty cool. Yeah. So that obviously was the biggest, the hardest thing to design was that joint. And what was it took us about, I don't know, 3 years. 3 years of
3 years
engineering this to kind of get
Wow.
it right. And
you guys are like the kings of cool clips, right?
Yeah, there's got to be a snap sound.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything packs into this bag here.
Also, it's got a sheath for the blade, and then it's got the
So you have your axe and then the back handle in front, and then everything. I'll show you guys once it's clipped. So it's a really nice small package, and then we got some sort of strap down, tie downs here. But that goes, in a small backpack, a canoe barrel. I'll show you. This is actually a nice example. This is our smallest saw, the 15-inch, and you can kind of compare the size, right?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So this is actually a pretty nice combo if you're really worried about pack size, but you want the tools to bring with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how the axe is going to get shipped to everybody in that sheath, ready to go.
I've seen pictures when you guys are in the testing phases of designing this axe and everything, where people were you guys were standing on them, like you would bridge it and you would stand on it there just to show how well that socket and joint kind of go together, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
So it was kind of a balance between we wanted to show how strong the material is, but we also don't want people to think this is like some sort of you can just run over it with your car product.
Yeah.
It's very strong, but it is also meant to be used as like a fine tool that you use in the backcountry. But yeah, it's a extremely strong material.
Yeah, ultimately, you don't want people standing on and bouncing on them like a trampoline to try and break things.
Yeah.
That,
You could
that's
probably
cool.
do
Though.
that.
You guys have obviously done your homework with that product, and I know there's more to come down the road here too. We still got a bunch of great questions to ask, but we're gonna have to save that for the second half of the show because it's 8 o'clock right now. Gonna take a quick little sponsor break here, boys. Great opportunity to grab yourself a new beverage or get rid of a beverage or check the hockey score. I think it's 1-1
Yeah.
right now for the Leafs in Boston. So for anybody that really cares. Yeah, we're going to take a quick sponsor break here. And when we come back, we'll do the swag giveaway. And then we'll get into some more questions, maybe invite a few people on panel to share some of their experiences with your products. So we'll see you here in a brief moment.
Awesome.
There's nothing like being out there. For over 50 years, we've been connecting people with nature by building classic Canadian canoe designs using the best materials available. We built a reputation on durable, dependable canoes that allow you to focus on what's important, whether that's unplugging in remote wilderness, spending quality time with your favorite people, or nailing the perfect line. Visit novacraft.com to find the perfect canoe for you and locate your nearest authorized dealer.
Tonight's episode of Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure Show is brought to you by Kid Products, stick stoves and reflector ovens proudly made in Canada. Algonquin Outfitters, with 5 key locations in and around Algonquin Park to serve your backcountry needs. Salis Marine, keeping you safe on the water since 1999. Ostrom Outdoors, custom fit canoe packs and barrel harnesses. Badger Paddles, handcrafted canoe paddles made to order. And Novacraft Canoes, connecting you with nature in Canadian-made canoes since 1970. And welcome back to the second half of Canoehounds Outdoor Adventure Show, also known as Overtime. We do have the fellas here from Agawa Gear. We're talking about their stove, or not their stove, sorry, their saws and their ADK axe. And we got a few more things to share about these awesome products, because I know most of you, or many of you out there, actually own one of these Boreal saws, whether it's a 15, the 21, or the 24. Personally, I have the 21. And for one thing that I like, I've got the yellow handle, because in the summertime, if I have that on the ground, I'm always going to see it. That's my thinking with that anyways. I've seen people spray paint their handles red, stuff like that, but whatever makes your boat float. Anyways, we do have a great swag giveaway. We're going to bring Brad and Graham back up here, and we'll get through this swag giveaway, and then we'll get into a little bit more information. Gents, you guys have graciously donated do you have it handy there? Can you show what the price is?
That's basically the kit there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let you tell everybody about it.
It's it's going to be one of our Boreal 21 kits. So that comes with the sheath. So you can strap it in your bag. Comes with the Boreal 21.
Cool.
Maybe Dennis, we can let whoever wins decide what handle color they want. It's kind of nice.
Sure.
And then, so it'll come with our standard blade on it. So this blade here, and then we'll also have our aggressive Sydney Rancher blade in the sheath as a backup.
Oh,
Just so
awesome.
you have the best of both worlds.
And for this one, we'll put a custom engraving on it too.
Yeah.
You guys do that. That's cool.
Yeah, we got a laser at the shop here. We like to play around sometimes.
Sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess what we're going to do here is I put together a question. The answer has already been mentioned here earlier on in the show, so if you're paying attention, you'll have a great chance. Now, I'm going to tell everybody, please don't put the answer in the chat over there. Like I said, you have to pay attention to be able to win. And when I post the question, all you need to do is send your answer to me at coasprize@gmail.com. And you have until midnight on Saturday. So if you happen to miss the answer, you can always go back in the show and watch the first half, again and find out what the answer was. But the question is, what year was Agawa Gear founded? I believe Graham mentioned it there earlier on in the show. So I'll leave that question floating across there. And like I say, you have until midnight on Saturday to get your answer in. At that time, I'll do a random draw, and I will connect the winner to the guys over here at Agawa, and they'll take care of getting you the right color handle and and etching and get that product out to you. So good luck to everybody. Hope you've been paying attention. Okay, boys, back on to some more stuff. A question I wanted to ask you too about the saws that it kind of slipped by here because I had a chance to go over my itinerary was there. You have a lot of competitors when it comes to saws out there. As I mentioned, there's the Silky saw line, there's Svens, there's a lot of handmade bow saws that go together and stuff like that. What is it about yours that kind of sets you apart in the design? I know the Silkies are like a cut on draw, whereas yours is like fore and aft, right? What are some of the big differences? And this isn't to slam any brands because everybody has their own claim to fame, right? But what is it that sets your saws apart?
Yeah, well, basically, like we also look at other brands too, and I think any of the popular brands in this sort of ecosystem, they're there for a reason, and they all have their own qualities. I personally think Silky saws are great for the right purpose. Our saw certainly doesn't do everything, but it does a lot of things well. The things that really set it aside from the other products out there is, I think, stuff we've talked about. It sets up really quick. There's no loose parts. So it unfolds, goes together, has great tension on the frame. One of the biggest things for me anyway, and I think a lot of people, is what sets it apart from a Silky, is it's a whole different ergonomic setup. So when you're using a Silky, it's a pole saw, right? So you're holding it like this, right? And you're sawing. And really a Silky is a pruning saw, so it's really designed for overhead cutting,
Right.
hence your kind of your hand position, and the pull position, right? So when you're pruning overhead, you're wanting to do a pull down stroke as your power stroke. So it's really good for in that situation. I mean, they're great for cutting most wood in any situation. But the big thing for us is if you're bucking firewood, this hand position where your hand is really pushing forward and you're getting your body behind it, we feel like that is a very comfortable position, especially for prolonged cutting. That's one of the benefits of our saw. Anything else?
Yeah. A lot of it's with that ergonomic position, you can get a lot of leverage.
Yeah.
So you more on the push, and then you do get a cut on the pull.
Yeah.
Probably 70% on the push and then 30% on the pull.
Yeah, it's like you're almost rocking the blade when you're cutting with our saw. So it's all about efficiency, and like there's always the argument of like which one cuts faster, and for us it's like it's what works better for the job you're doing, right?
Sure. I've seen many people snap a Silky blade, and like I say, this is not a slam. I actually own a Silky saw as well, but a lot of people don't realize that it only cuts on that pull. So they go to push in, and a lot of times that blade binds and they snap like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen one of your blades snap because you've got 2 points of contact holding that blade in there, right? So
Yeah, and that's another thing we always think of designing any tools is, especially for the backcountry, is how durable and how long is this going to last for you? And if you need to, can you carry a couple spare blades if the worst case happens, right? So yeah, I mean, they're all great tools, and we kind of set ourselves apart with those few things I just mentioned. But again, it really comes down to personal preference and what kind of activity you're doing. Me personally, I'm a tool junkie, so more tools the merrier, and it's a big industry out there, so we welcome competition, and we think it helps everyone.
Sure. Now there's also another design which is very not your design, but another design out there that's very unique, and it's almost like a triangle type of saw, and I never wanted one of them because I always found that you lose the ability to cut bigger pieces of wood. Otherwise, you're doing these short strokes, back and forth, because that triangle really limits how much wood can get up into the throat, I guess you can call it, of the saw itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can see, 1 inch, you get through 1 inch of log, you get through 2 inches of log, and suddenly you've lost 6 inches of your blade, right?
Yeah.
You can't use anymore. So yeah, it does make a big difference having that extra clearance on that end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, and we get that same argument for our saw, where if someone's a big time silky user and they have a 30-inch long katana boy, they can get through a 24-inch round if they need to, right? But for us, what kind of spec'd ours out was like, okay, what are we gonna cut on a trip, And typically
Right,
you're not doing anything over 8 inches of a log, like
on the
in
high
most
end,
cases,
yeah.
that's the high end, right? So we basically wanted to make sure you could do that, and if you can do that well, then we're good, kind of thing.
Yeah, I find 4 to 6 inch thickness is plenty good if you have an accident too, because you need to split that stuff too, because rounds
Yeah.
don't burn as good as a broken piece of wood or a split piece of wood. So yeah, that's cool. Now, what about the blades too? We were talking about the blades, and you show the different types. One question I see a lot out there is, cutting wet wood or soft wood or hardwood. Like what blade is more specific to what type of wood?
Yeah, so the standard blade, the one with the rakers, which is a very traditional style blade for bow saws. This one is mainly set up for, we call it an all-purpose blade because really it's good for green wood, It's good for wood with a little punkiness in it. Anything where it's going to bind your blade at all, sappy types of trees, those rakers help to clear out that cut and keep the saw operating smoothly. So that's really where that blade shines. This aggressive blade is really a dry wood blade or a hardwood blade pattern. So that's typically what it's made for. So any dead standing where it's going to be dry, or hardwoods that typically have a tighter what do you call that? Tighter grain in the wood. That's where that type of saw blade excels.
Yeah.
But again, if that's getting pretty finite with things. So typically I keep this on my saw all the time because I find it just goes through everything because it's got a nice heavy kerf on it. It's a little harder to push through certain types of species, but if you're willing to do it, it goes through really fast. So.
Right. That's where guys got to get out there and work out.
Yeah.
Get that shoulder forearm.
Right. Yeah. But we always say if you're going to be pruning a lot of trees, clearing trail that's potentially going to be partially living trees or newly fresh down trees, then the standard blade might have some benefits over the aggressive blade. But in most cases, the aggressive blade is the go-to.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And then back to the ADK. What type of steel is the head on that?
We went with 5160. So it's a couple of different companies in the States make axes with it. So it's sort of been proven as a higher end tool steel for axes.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is it's actually considered almost like a spring steel. So you have the capability of hardening the edge to a lot kind of higher RC or hardening rating. So what that means is it's not going to dull as fast, and it's going to hold an edge longer. So it's got some qualities that are kind of a little better than your standard like 1055 or even some of the Swedish steels you see.
And it's still soft enough that you can take a file to it.
Yeah. Because we wanted something that holds an edge for a long time, but also in the bush, if you do like ding a rock or things happen, you can actually put an edge on it in the bush with a simple sharpening stone or something like that.
Cool.
Yeah,
you have to consider where they're being used, right? Like at least in our community here, right? Mostly backcountry users, right? You're going to use it at home too, maybe, but
a lot of Canadian potential hits, right?
Yeah, is that your main market? Is the backcountry adventurers for this, or do you find do you have a ratio like 80-20 type of thing, 80% backcountry people, and then
it's hard to say really. Like we're huge in the bushcraft world,
Yeah.
We started in the backcountry paddling world. That's where we kind of had the enthusiasm, and especially Luke and Hank, the two other owners, who are a bit older than us. They've been, I think Graham mentioned, paddling for like 35, 40 years.
Yeah.
So they really come from that, grassroots backcountry paddling world. But our product, luckily and thankfully, kind of caught on in the bushcraft scene, and it's grown a lot there. And it's a lot of our business is in the U.S. now too. So I feel like paddling is a lot bigger thing in Canada, as far as like real hardcore enthusiasts go, like especially river paddling.
Sure.
And then in the States, it's more bushcraft and camping and things like that.
Overland.
Overlanding is another world where we're starting to see a lot of enthusiasm around our products. So.
Well, that's cool. And these are all the types of people, like ones that have been doing it for a long time. They know good gear, and for those of us that have been paddling or hiking or backcountry or overlanding or whatever it might be, we know the value of a good, reliable product. And a lot of times we won't worry so much about cost because we know we're getting something that's reliable, right? I've said it a million times, like with my Ostrom backpack, say for instance. I've been using the same one for between 25 and 30 years and never popped the stitch on the thing. Good for somebody like me, maybe company wise, they're selling one every 30 years or something, right? If they make them to last that long. But that's what we come to rely on, is something that we have confidence in the back season. I recently sold a canoe that I did not feel 100% confident in the backcountry because it just felt too delicate to me, right? I won't even mention the name or whatever of the company because that's irrelevant. But you have to have that. You have to have that confidence, in your gear. You don't want to get back there and go, "Oh man, what am I going to do now?" Especially if you kind of rely on it, right? So
yeah, exactly.
We've all been there. If we've lost a piece of gear in the backcountry, and you go, "Oh man, my freaking Nalgene bottle's gone," right? It's a bottle, right? So yeah, you got to have your confidence in your gear when it comes to that. We got a bunch of questions here that are in the that have been popping in throughout the chat, and just to let everybody know as well, I have posted a link in the chat if anybody wants to come up and maybe share a story about the saw or ask a question about the saw and the axe or about Agawa Gear, because the right guys are here to answer it. So now's the time to do it. I'll mention one video that I got from one of my viewers and one of my subscribers, David North. He sent me a clip that he put on Instagram, and he was explaining, I found this beautiful dead standing. He says, I got my Agawa saw, and I'm going out there to cut. He's cutting it, and all of a sudden he gets nailed by a wasp, and then another wasp, and another wasp. When he had to run it, he left the saw sitting in the tree still, and he had to make his escape. Right, he went back hours later. He ended up getting it back with only one more sting, but it was a pretty cool story that he shared with me, and I think that was even before he knew that you guys are going to be on the show. So
nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, David's great. I've chatted with him on Instagram before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sulik 46. I don't know if this is more of a comment or not. I seen you react to this one earlier in the show there. Ask them about their new unreleased Boreal 44. Trust me, you won't regret it. Well, boys, fill us in.
Good old Steve.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Boreal 144. Maybe one day. We Steve always liked to talk about having a wizard staff for walking around the woods that could double as a giant saw. So we actually played around with the idea of doing an April Fool's launch this year, but it never panned out. A 12-foot saw.
12-foot saw, yeah. Wizard staff, maybe a paddle that folds into a saw,
There you go.
Shout out to Salute 46 too. He's got some amazing products, and really good engineer over there too.
Yeah, I've got a few pieces of Steve stuff too. So I love supporting these smaller businesses, and I'm not calling you guys a smaller business because you guys are you're
small.
getting to out there in the world platform. Like you say, you're I seen Ingo Hetzer from Kid Products made a comment that he sees a lot of the German bushcrafters using your products now. So like you're making a splash around the world, man. You're filling in this community, and that's a good thing. I'm proud of you for that. So keep it up.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
let's see here. Aside from Steve's question, we Nate Muskoka asked him. He says he loves his Agawa. It's been well used, and we sold them a ton while he was at Algonquin Outfitters, which was great. He's missing a screw on the handle of his. Any tips on how to replace? Do you have them at hardware stores or?
Oh, the easiest, just get in touch and we'll send you one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just get in touch. We know
There
Nate
you go.
on Instagram. And
Yeah,
YouTube.
everybody knows Nate Muskoka.
Yeah, it is a quarter 20.
Yeah,
True.
if you do need to replace
If you
it.
do need to go out and get it quickly, but yeah, we'll be happy to send one.
There you go. Cool. Let's see here. Christian Malashchuk, who I'm just going to quickly post this because earlier in the show, he purchased a 10 memberships for people. Whenever he does that, I like to put this up. So thank you, Santa Malashchuk, for your membership donations. Hopefully everybody that got theirs we thank Christian as well. So there you have it. He's asking, so I hear the Boreal 144. What can you tell us about this? Okay, we've covered that one already.
Yeah, Steve buddies with Steve.
I guess we're gonna have to make it.
Yeah.
High
Well,
demand.
you know what? Let's put a poll out into the chat. Would anybody want a 12-foot saw?
It's
put
fun
them
because
in the chat
we
if you
do
like
get
that.
a lot of people asking for the 30-inch and the 36-inch, the big time winter camping guys and the bushcraft guys. So
Yeah.
kind of come from talking about that with Steve. And he's like, "Oh, why don't you just make a 144?"
Yeah. How much of a transition was it between the three sizes of saw? Like, was there a lot of they're similar in design, but they're shorter in length. What were the challenges? Like doing the 15 and the 24 from the 21.
The main thing was the geometry. There's slight, even though they look like they're a similar shape and similar angle when your hand versus where the blade is. There's minor changes in how the frame pieces connect. The 15-inch there were less changes because the extrusions are the same on all three, and the handle was the same size on the 15-inch. But then for the 24, there's new tooling to make the bigger handle. So nothing major, but like the beginning, the minor variations had to be right. Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't as easy as just changing the spine length, right? To do it. Because looking over Brad's shoulder, it looks like the 15 actually has more at the tip, like wider at the tip than the 21 is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that has to do with making sure that you can get the tension on the length of the blade and still fold into the length of the blade.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Just checking some of the new comments here. Okay, we got a couple more cool questions here. Evan Lefebvre asking, will you guys ever create some wood carving tools such as gouges, spoons, blades, or draw knives?
That'd be cool. I mean, it'd be, it's something I've never dabbled in, but I've always seen it and been like, man, I should really get a wood carving kit. You never know. I mean, we always tend to want to, one of our mantras of our company is, we really want to innovate with anything we develop, especially right now when we're kind of still a young company and coming out with new products. We don't want to make anything that doesn't serve a new purpose or a perceived problem that we see in the bushcraft.
A problem that hasn't been solved yet.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know if we'd be able to find an issue with the carving world so much. So it might not be on the list just yet, but you never know.
Yeah. There you go.
Definitely something I foresee doing when I'm old and, doing more fishing trips and hanging out in my canoe and just carving some spoons. So
yeah,
definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, I always bring a carving kit with me when I go away, and rarely do I pull it out. I'm always doing other stuff. I'm one of them guys. I'm always fidgeting around camp, right? And I can't sit still for 5 minutes. So, yeah. So if anybody goes canoeing with me, they'll get to learn that really quick. That Dennis, he brings a camp chair, but he doesn't sit in it very long. So it's yeah. Dwayne B asking, are there replacement handles available? And now I know that there was that question come up when we were talking about the 80K26. Are there you couldn't really replace the main part of the handle that's attached to the head, could you?
No, not the hatchet handle couldn't be replaced.
Oh,
Yeah, you'd need a whole new part there, but we will have replacement extensions available.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's see here. We did get a lot of great questions here tonight. Dwayne B. Now this is a little poke at the bear here. Can you give me one of their? Can you give one of those away? And could you please ring it so I win? So just so you know that if Dwayne B. did happen to win, it's not rigged. I promise. I promise.
Sure.
Let's see here. Super Good Camping. How is production of the Axis progressing? I ordered one in February, and he's still waiting for it to ship.
Yeah, so we actually have some really good news from our manufacturing partner over in Pickering.
Mm-hmm.
We were just there last week. We've got basically the finalized part. So we're doing some tweaks to the bottom handle, and this is basically what it's going to look like. There's about 2 more weeks of small tweaks to the fit that we're making until we run our final production on handles that will be shipping out to some of our Kickstarter backers and our pre-order backers, and then ultimately those will also go on sale on our website pretty soon after that. So our goal is to be having stuff shipped out and back on sale on our website, early to mid-June is kind of what we're shooting for.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you originally launched this, as you mentioned, on your Kickstarter, and you had got a bunch out to all these bigger name YouTubers and stuff to really test them because they're out there frequently, and so that was like as you mentioned through Kickstarter, and that helped you develop and tweak and make the changes so that you can finalize your product to put it out for sale. So it's been out for sale, but not really pushed or endorsed. Is that correct to say?
Yeah, we did a Kickstarter, and then we did a pre-order on our website, and then we found some small issues that we wanted to go back to the drawing board on and kind of work those out before we put it on for sale full time on our website, and then get it out to retail. And like I said, those are basically at this point worked out. There's some product testing we want to do, and then we can start shipping that out to new customers.
As I mentioned earlier on the show, you want to make sure you're putting out a quality product that it's got your name on it, and you want nothing but the best out there, right? So that's great.
Yeah, and through our testing, like I said, we did a whole year of testing, and there's stuff you're just not going to see until it's in the hands of other people, and you got people using it, and fortunately nothing disastrous happened, and it's just some small tweaks we're making, and it should just turn it into an even better product.
Got to fine tune, man. Got to fine tune.
Yeah, always fine tuning. Yeah.
Jay over at Beauty of the Backcountry. Jay, by the way, is the guy who come up with my theme song for the show. I don't know if you guys caught that at the beginning there while you're in the green room, but Jay's the mastermind behind that. But he says we find that when using the Boreal 21, the closer one's hand is to the blade, lower on the handle when cutting, the easier or the better to stroke. Is this in design?
Yeah. So if you hold the handle right near the bottom, you will get a smoother stroke. So it'll be a lot easier to cut. You can hold it up higher, and you will get more leverage, but you're more likely to bind. So if you can control your pressure, you could probably cut as fast or faster up here, but down here is going to be the most efficient.
It's also why we put this little kind of stop notch in, so your hand just naturally hits that and rests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then there's still enough handle if like some people like to, in some situations, especially if they have a bad balance point where you're standing cutting, it's nice to get 2 hands on the stuff.
Yeah.
Or if you're just going through a lot of firewood.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of I've seen a lot of bushcrafters or YouTubers and stuff like that. They've taken the saw and basically they'll put it on its end, they'll stand on it, and then they'll sort of jack the wood up and down it there. You ever thought of coming up with like an accessory foot peg for it or something?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, it's funny that like I said, we pay attention to, you know, a lot of that stuff, and we learn stuff. Like a lot of times when we're getting shown these things on Instagram or YouTube, we're learning it for the first time too. Specifically that one you're talking about, where you stand on the saw and you kind of squeeze it between your legs, and you know, you rub the wood on it instead of sawing it with your hands. So yeah, we love that part of it. We're always amazed by what people come up with and, you know, suggest and show us. And you know, we've had suggestions of putting an extra handle here too, so that two people can tandem saw, right?
Yeah, especially if we go to the bigger
144. Yeah,
the 144.
You need three people to run that.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. I re-put the link back out there just in case somebody has a story. Have you guys, having been in the industry since 2013, since you guys started, you must have heard people come and give you stories on maybe your saw and something like, you know, it got them out of a fix or something. Any stories that you'd like to share from anybody, or even personal experiences?
I mean, that one from Dave is always a good one. I mean, the best stories are like, hey guys, you know, we were in a pinch and there was a tree down in the road, and you know, I was on my way to the hospital or something, and I had a saw in the trunk. You know, it's never like the backcountry stories. It's always the like emergency stories where we're like, oh dang, that's pretty cool. It got someone out of a pickle right in the right time. So
there's a lot of those stories going into the bush or on a trail or coming out where they have to clear the way and they wouldn't have been able to otherwise. The story that I remember the most was a couple years, I forget how long ago it was, but there was it wasn't a tornado. I forget what they're called when the like really fast slices of wind come through an area. Maybe it was
like the blowdown storm, like 2 or 3 years ago
on Highway 7. I think it was somewhere around Tweed. I can't remember exactly, but this couple came up to us at a trade show and told us the story how the storm went through and their daughter was locked in the cabin. There were trees down in front of the doors. It had hit part of the roof, and that they wouldn't have been able to get to her quickly. And they happened to have the saw in their car.
Downburst. Beauty of the backcountry.
Microburst.
Microburst.
Yeah.
Micro downburst.
Yeah, and so that it was a big moment, an important moment for them, and so that one hit, and I'll always remember that.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going through the questions here. I like the one question here, or not question, comment Alan Bierhoff put in here. He says, Joe Robinette hasn't broken his 80K26 yet. I'd say you're good to go.
He really put it through his face.
Oh man.
Yeah. He even tried the thing where he's standing on it and stuff, because he's seen you guys do it in your Kickstarter videos that you did and stuff. But yeah, Joe's
anything you can give to the Baird brothers too, and it survives. It's a good time. Yeah, and we're lucky to have all those guys that, you know, we've created relationships with, and just, you know, say, hey, you know, put a beat on this, we'll send it to you, let us know what you think. And we're super lucky to have all those people helping us out. That's a big part of why we've grown to where we are, is because especially those few guys that we started on with early, and they've grown their channels and really stuck with us. And so we're lucky to have, you know, professionals like that in the field.
Yeah, I remember when I first bought my my Agawa saw here, I actually did a little product review on it, and that was in my earlier days of doing this YouTube
I remember
thing, right? I've never claimed to be a big YouTuber, but yeah, you know, I was in those days, I was doing the product reviews and stuff like that. Yeah, I was all proud of it back then. If I watch it now, it's pretty damn hokey, but we grow as we go, right? So
exactly. Well, we appreciate all of it.
Yeah.
John, we look back at our original Kickstarter video and we think the same thing.
Yeah. Growing pains. John M's asking, when will the axe be available in stores?
On our store,
what does it retail for?
And that'd be Canadian, right?
Yeah, we'll say Canadian.
About 270
270. Yeah.
Canadian, 220 US.
And we're hoping to have it for sale, like I said, mid-June, early to mid-June, and it'll start for sale on our website.
A few retailers from the start, and then
Yeah.
it'll start expanding from there.
Yeah, probably leading up to Christmas, it'll start flowing out into other stores. And
Cool.
Yeah.
So you have to you obviously got to build inventory for it too, because I know the axe is actually garnering a lot of attention. So that means probably a lot of people want it, and your pre-sales and stuff like that. So you gotta. Yeah, it's not like you're gonna produce 50 of them and hope they last a while. You want them gone, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Untamed Ontario says no spoilers. And we won't do any spoilers, but I do understand that you have a new product that you're working on now. We can't show any prototypes or anything like that, but I know you guys do have something in the works. Care to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we can share. Specifically, it's a cookware product. We're big time camp cooks. We've always, we're big time fishermen. So when we go on our backcountry trips, we're always fishing. We're trying to bring in meals to the backcountry that, take some prep. You're going to cook them over a fire typically, if it's not a fire ban, which we've been going through for the last couple of years. But so we're really passionate about that side of camping and backcountry, living in general. So we're super excited to be working on a cookware specific product that we're hoping to launch this summer. Again, we're going to work our way through the axe and see where that's at, but our plan is to probably at least announce it this summer, right?
Oh yeah.
And specifically, it's a sort of a cook system that is mainly based around fire cooking, or cooking over a fire. But it'll also work with your propane setups, your
Cool.
small cook boxes or your stick stoves, and even kind of propane setups and overland rigs and things like that. It's going to be a very versatile system that goes with the principles of our saw. Packs down, it's durable, easy to maintain, and just does the job really well.
Sear, steam, stew, smoke,
bake.
Yeah.
We're big Bannock bakers at camp, so we want to have the ability to bake really nice breads in camp. Maybe some cinnamon rolls, who knows?
Cool, man. You guys give GSI a run for their money, because I got GSI in there, and I hate that thing because it's Teflon, right? And I hate cooking with Teflon.
Yeah.
So
No coatings, no weird coatings coming from us. It's going to be pretty.
Well, it's awesome, man. I look forward to seeing what you guys are going to come up with when it comes to that.
Yeah, I like that backcountry big green egg.
Yeah.
There you go. Somebody put that in the chat there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get behind. It's hard to do all. I wear all the hats here, right? I'm produce here and here. So yeah. So we've talked about your saws. We talked about your axe and stuff, and a little bit about what you might have coming down the pipe. You guys, aside from doing this, you have families, but you also get out there into the backcountry. You're not doing this. You're doing it for a reason, because obviously you like to use your own products in the backcountry. You guys got some pretty cool trips under your belt. You sent me a profile picture, Graham, and I could tell right off the hop it was something in the Yukon. You guys have done a trip, I imagine, with your two partners as well, to the Yukon. What did you do up there?
Yeah, we did was it 12-day?
Yeah, 12 days on the water.
12-day Snake River. Beautiful, awesome trip. We flew out of Whitehorse to be dropped at a small lake just beside the river, and then spent 12 days going down this big sky country, awesome winding river, big rapids. Awesome,
incredible canyons. It was that's one of the benefits of being business partners with some really good long-term paddlers. because they're at the age now they're doing their kind of bucket list trips, and they just need guys to haul gear with them. So
So you got to carry the beer, right?
yeah, so fellas, we're going on a trip, so we were super lucky to be included in that one. And yeah, that was the probably the biggest trip I've ever been on, and the most pristine. We've all seen Jim Baird do those epic Yukon trips. It was a lot like one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
catching grayling every day for lunch and settling into a riverbed rock camp and doing hikes up mountains, and it was really cool.
Yeah, a couple of the telltale signs with that picture that you sent, though, were one, the mountains in the background, and two was Up North Adventures. Big on the front of the canoe, right? We had Mark on the show there a few weeks back. There, we did our Allure of the Yukon show, which was a really good show. Got to learn a lot about it because I'm hoping it's one of my bucket list trips because I'm old enough to have a bucket list now.
Yeah,
and, it's one of those things that's on my bucket list. So hopefully I'll get the opportunity to get up there and get Mark to outfit me there in one of those nice spray skirted canoes by Novacraft Canoes, of course, and get out there. So so what about, do you guys try and get out a couple times a year on your canoe trips around here, or like where do you like to trip? Is there a particular area, Temagami, Frontenac area? What?
Yeah, any time we get, it's usually camping. Like
right,
definitely harder with small kids and families.
Yeah.
Typically, like for me, the last couple of years, I've just been going on small backcountry trips in Algonquin and Killarney and things like that, and trying to take the family out. Just getting the kids used to the boat,
Sure. Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun, kind of showing the kids. And my wife's not a huge backcountry paddler, but she's starting to love it. So it's been a really fun chance for me to kind of bring them into that world and have other friends around. Like me and Graham go on trips with our families together, so we all hang out.
Yeah,
but it's good.
Yeah. So far we've done, where we canoe in an hour or something like that and stay for a couple nights. My kids are 11, 8, and 5, my boys, and so that's what we've done so far. But I think in the next couple of years we'll start doing some portaging and maybe get some small rapids in there at some point.
Yeah, I can't wait to start taking the kids on river trips.
Yeah, that's the ultimate.
Not far away from it. So.
Yeah. I've got 3 grandsons, and I'm hoping this summer will probably be the summer I'll get the 9-year-old and the 3.5-year-old out on a canoe trip. I just, every time they come over, I try to do something to get them pumped up for it, right? So, and it'll be the same thing as you, Brad. It'll be getting out there, doing a bit of base camping, get them involved, picking up sticks for the fire, whatever, and breaking out the Agawa saw, and they can help me saw, keep a hand on that. So, you had shown earlier, Brad, you had the saw open, you had your hand through it. You see a lot of people doing that. Explain that to us.
Oh, like basically,
they call it a safety cutting, right?
Yeah. So if you're cutting a log, say there's a log here, right? You'll put your hand through the saw, grab onto the log. So when you're cutting, because sometimes when you're cutting the saw, any saw has a tendency it can jump, out of the cut. You can cut your hand. So what this allows you to do is kind of get your hand inside the saw. So if it does jump out, it's just going to stay kind of, in a safe zone. So it's just a safe way to do it.
Yeah. And we suggest that a lot when people are testing at trade shows, especially with kids.
Yeah.
They naturally tend to put their hand right beside the blade.
Right beside it,
Yeah, that's the no-no spot.
Yeah. And then it's jumping around when they start it up. So so we get their hand over the blade, and then they can start a smooth cut there.
That could actually be a whole nother show, right? We could actually talk about saw and axe safety, because I mentioned earlier in the show there, I actually canoe with a group of guys that I joined their group, right? And I've never had it where I've gone on a canoe trip and not brought an axe with me. And they say, no, we don't bring axes on the show. Either we cut wood that's small enough to burn or baton, but they don't bring axes, and it's just more for the safety things. And I think it's just because they don't know how to handle an axe, right? So, and I know one of the guys is in the chat over there, so take it for what it's worth. No, that's cool.
Well, we've all had that friend that put it through their toe at one point or another, right? So
Yeah.
it's one. But like you said, there's definitely ways to use it where it's a lot safer. You know,
Mm-hmm. Cool.
especially in a
Now,
backcountry.
one question I had too was your products. You're obviously making products to last and to work. What type of warranties come with the saws and will come with the axe?
What's the saws right now?
10 year on the saw officially.
Yeah.
But basically, if anyone ever has any issue with tension or some kind of manufacturing defect, we will fix or replace. No questions asked. Yeah, that's kind of our internal policy. So
we have a no man left behind internal policy. So we'll usually help you out.
It's funny because I remember watching a Joe Robinette video there, and he, I think you back when you just launched the 24 and you had sent him one, and I think it was his first outing in his first video. Like I watch a lot of YouTube guys, just to let you know, but he actually bent this.
Did he drop a tree on it?
Yeah,
something happened and he bent it. He goes, I bent it. And he just throws it aside again, right? It's like
those early videos, see people bushwhacking, breaking down big branches with them and stuff that we hadn't done with it. And we're going, oh man, but it's held up. So
yeah. The one thing I'll tell you, when you got one of these on a trail though, and you're on a portage and you gotta take down a fallen tree, that's they're going through like butter. Right? That's what I like about them. They're so damn sharp. Yeah. Let's see here. Is there anything that we've missed that you guys could think of?
Man. Yeah, not really. I guess from our point of view as a smaller gear company, we're always thinking of new products aside from the cookware we just talked about. But we do have plans over the next couple of years to launch. We have dreams of doing a knife eventually, maybe even some, soft goods products. So we're definitely, for people that want to know what we're all about, we're not just a tool company. We're sort of like a camping company. So we're always thinking of like, how can we supply like a backcountry bag filled with everything you need for your trip. Eventually maybe that's what it grows into.
Yeah. What are the most essential items you need, and basically our ideal versions of it is what the goal is. So.
Yeah.
And eventually all made in US and Canada. And the axe, for example, is made, the head's done in the US and then everything else is done here. Same with the cookware. The cookware is 100% Canadian. So most of the stuff moving forward with our products will be, all Canadian based. So that's another thing we're focused on too.
Now you guys got some cool swag that you got on too. Your hats. You sell them on your website too, don't you?
Yeah. They're almost sold out. So if you want one, get one. We don't know if they're gonna keep on. So
are they something special about them?
They're actually, it's a great little company out of BC that makes them. Just a nice little 5-panel wax canvas, so it's great on a trip. It's good in the wet weather. Very comfortable right out of the box.
Right.
Yeah, I did see a question there about if we do actually plan on making a bigger size saw.
Was it this one here? All jokes aside, with the 144, you're working on a larger version saw.
There we go. We have prototyped a 30-inch version. We are considering a 30 and a 36-inch version for the really heavy work. It does take a lot more revisions to the current design, but it is in the works.
Yeah, eventually it'll be worthwhile, I think, to do it. I think we'll probably get through a couple new products and then take another look at it. We definitely have those winter campers out there that have requested it a lot. So
sure. I guess the bigger you go on something like that with the saw too, the more flex there will be in there. I know it's like aluminum and it's extruded like that, but you can only get so big before you start getting flex in it too. So I'm sure there's all the things you got to consider when you try to make something bigger, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the frame has to take so much more tension to keep the blade as rigid as the
Right.
24 and 21. Yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
Is this your full-time gig, boys? Like, I don't want to get personal. This show never gets personal, but is this your full-time gig, or do you have day jobs? Because I have a day job, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is full time.
Well, you've been,
Yeah.
what, 4 years now?
Oh,
almost 5.
6. I think it's been 6 or 7 years
7 years,
full time. Yeah.
And
Good for you.
I've been, what, 4 years, I guess, now?
Mhm.
Yeah, full time on it.
Good. Yeah. So that says something about being all in, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh, for sure,
like
yeah.
I say, when the name Agawa Gear is on it, and you guys are at it full time, you're all in. And I have to ask, the other two partners, are they more like silent partners type of thing, or they just put the good looking guys up front there to deal with the public?
No, they're not silent partners. We all have it's a great team. We all have
Yeah.
our strengths, and really works well together, between design and marketing and some of the financial stuff and some quality control and
Yeah, they've taught us
sourcing, so-
taught us a lot about
Yeah.
running a business because they've got
Mhm.
that experience, and they're just generally not interested in the social media side. And
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
they'd
'cause
rather
it's a
be
lot.
out in a canoe.
Yeah, I seen you guys like this year at 3 different shows, right?
Mhm.
You guys are out there. You're in the forefront. You're answering questions in person to the
Mhm.
people that are wanting to purchase your products. You know, Canoecopia, the Outdoor Adventure Show, and the Sportsman Show in Toronto. And I'm sure
Mhm.
there's probably a few others that you may have done that I wasn't a part of, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah, we got about 6 or 7 shows planned this year,
Mhm.
so a few
Yeah.
later on in the year too. So
good
Yeah.
stuff. Well,
Yeah,
always
it's
a
so fun
pleasure
to
to
get
run
out there. You hear stories, you get fired up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeps the energy going.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you guys got any trips planned for this season?
nothing major, just a couple Algonquin, simple 40-minute paddle in and
It's a trip, man. It's a trip.
hang out with the friends
Mhm.
and do some fishing and yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, boys, you know what? Thank you very much for joining us here on this Tuesday evening. For anybody in the chat that's not familiar with Agawa Gear, where can they find you? Socials, websites, stuff like that.
AgawaGear.ca for Canada, AgawaGear.com for US, and Agawa Gear at Agawa Gear for Instagram.
Agawa Gear, YouTube. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, check them out, everybody. And for anybody that might be looking for a saw, I do have links in the description below where you can actually go and pick up some of these incredibly awesome, fantastic saws. I'm trying to butter it up for you, boys, even though I don't have to, because let the product speak for itself, right? But yeah, thank you very much, guys, for joining me on this Tuesday night. I'm glad it finally happened.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Thanks very much.
For sure.
Thanks.
Maybe we can do it again when we got some more products out and we can show you those too.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we get you into that sponsor role at the front there, eh? Wink, wink,
There
nudge,
you
nudge.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'll see you guys in the green room in a few short moments here.
Yeah. Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks everyone.
Awesome. Yeah, you know what? Like I say, everybody, you know what? There's always the right piece of gear for the application. These guys are putting together some fantastic product that is going to be very reliable, and you know what? It's good stuff. I can't speak highly enough for the Boreal 21 saw. I've never had an issue with it. I've replaced the blade once, and it wasn't with one of their blades. It was with one that you can buy at Canadian Tire. But you know what? If you're in a pinch, you buy what you can get, right? But yeah, they're great products. Anyways, just to let everybody know, I don't have a show scheduled for next week quite yet. I've got one opening, and that's the show for next week. So there may or may not be an episode next week. I will keep you posted on my Facebook page. And as I mentioned, we are kind of winding down here in May. Will be the end of the season for regularly scheduled shows. But like I said, on the next show, I'll have some announcements as to how we're going to be carrying forward there going into the summer and into next season. So If you have any questions or anything, drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com. Don't forget, tonight's question for the swag giveaway was, in what year was Agawa Gear founded? Okay. And you could send your answer to coasprize@gmail.com. And you have until Saturday at midnight to get that answer in. Anyways, I hope everybody has a fantastic week. I hope your canoe trip planning and your hiking planning is all going well. And hopefully you've got something coming up soon because, well, the weather just keeps getting nicer and nicer. In the meantime, have yourselves a great week and keep the adventures alive.